What are you most excited about when we talk about collective consciousness moving from 3D to 5D?
People understanding their own personal power and people understanding their own intuitive giftedness. So for me, I can see, feel, hear, know, see dead people and do psychic surgery. That's my everyday. And there's billions of people that just feel everything, or they take everybody's stuff on into their bodies, empaths. There's people that hear voices. They don't want to say anything, they're scared. There's people who just know how to create or build things that don't exist, right? These are all parts of the gift. And so what I'm here to teach people now is like, okay, it's nothing wrong with you. You're part of the next phase of wave of what's coming in, and lean into your abilities. So what I represent is sensitivity as superpower. You don't have to be weak or fragile as a sensitive. You don't have to hide away from life. You can actually go out into life, into crowds, into environments, and still be powerful. There's tools to learn how to do that, and that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And if you were to give one urgent message to everybody that they have to do this now that we are moving as a collective and there's so much chaos happening right now in the world, and empaths definitely get impacted because of that. Sensitivity is our superpower, but at the same time, it may put us at risk of absorbing energies if we don't do the energetic hygiene. Like if you were to give one urgent thing to everybody that, okay, you have to do that when we are moving from 3D to 5D, what would that be?
So I just created EmpathX, and sensitivity is your superpower. So the first 5 steps to becoming empowered as a sensitive, you got to accept who and how you are. You got to get grounded in your body. You got to clear your energy field every day. You have to move and get healthy in your physical body. And then you have to learn about your specific abilities and how to work with them. And so that's what I teach people now. But just know that you're safe. You're like this for a reason. There's nothing to fear. And the more willing that you are to come back to self, right? And do those things again, accept, ground, clear, move, and understand energetics. Then you can all of a sudden you feel great. And what's happening out here, we can actually look at chaos. Like, to me, I'm so familiar with it that I can use chaos to create things really fast. Like, chaos to me is not a bad thing. Just like anger, not a bad thing. We can use it as fuel. But you have to understand how not to get hooked into it and overwhelmed by it. But EmpathX teaches that.
We always know what's wrong with our body if we listen to our body. How do you suggest that people listen to their body and increase the awareness of what's happening in the body?
Slow down, stop distracting, get real with what you're doing. Most people lie to themselves about what they're actually doing. How much are you actually drinking? How many pills are you actually taking? Or cigarettes are you actually smoking? Or McDonald's are you actually eating? There's nothing bad or wrong with any of those things. But unless we're willing to really get real with ourselves, we can't really come down into the beginning stages of looking at the body. And so those are the beginnings. And just that, more and more people are beginning the process of doing that, because that's the accountability piece, right? To slow down, stop distracting, and be like, okay, maybe I don't just eat one cupcake. Maybe it's more than that. And we don't have to have shame about it, but being like, why am I having that? What is that doing for me? Oh, I'm trying not to feel. Oh, okay, great. What are we trying not to feel? And then we look at, are you in the body? Because so many people are disassociated. So are you brave enough to come down into the body? And so each of these things takes time for people to come to terms with and be willing to do. So when we're calm and we're really being like, okay, like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing it for this reason and I'm willing to maybe change it. Okay, cool. Now we can work. And then coming down into the body, then we can start to track in the systems, right? Like what's actually happening. And so dis-ease is just stuck or stagnant energy. It's just a block. It's an invitation. There's something, there's a message, there's wisdom. And ultimately, like, the more willing we are to be like, okay, if you've received a diagnosis, you can take it and internalize it and be like victimized by it. Or you can take it and be like, okay, I hear that. I'm not going to identify with it. I'm going to be curious about why it's here. I'm going to look at holistic ways of healing myself. I'm going to look at all the different options to heal myself. And there's so many ways that we can become empowered. And it's really how we, one, if we're willing, like it's up to us, right? If we're continuously bypassing and not going to take responsibility for what we're doing, we're not going to weigh our own power. But if we're willing to take that responsibility and be curious, then we retain our power. And when we have our power, we have more vitality. And then we can look at cancer, hypertension, diabetes, or whatever. And we can get to the roots of like what it is, why it's there. And then different lifestyle choices, energetics, mantras, like, yoga postures, all the things that go along with physical healing.
Have you experienced anything like bringing a soul fragment or some power which is there in the higher dimension of your higher self? Because as we all know that we exist on multiple dimensions in multiple realms and multiple star systems. So have you experienced something like, oh, okay, my Pleiadian power may come in handy over here in doing this kind of a thing?
Yes.
So integrating all of that multidimensional self into here in this body, that is the real, fun or whatever. That is what we are meant to do here. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like any particular star system or anything from where you actually took something and brought over here and practically it helped you?
So I took a lot of nuggets of wisdom from each of the different shamanic and plant medicine journeys and from my near-death experience, which is going to be multigalactic. It's beyond, right? It transcends any of these specific realms. And what I found here, and they're all beautiful. And so I advocate if you're in a hypnagogic meditative space and all of a sudden you get an insight or you channel a light language or you feel like you want to tone or say something in some language or start writing, do it because that's how it comes in, right?
Yeah.
And typically when we're in that place, that hypnagogic in-between place where we're receptive, right? And as far as soul fragmentation, a lot of what I personally went through in my own healing journey and what I work with people every day is calling back their power, their health, their vitality from trauma, right? From disassociation, from negative life experiences or substance abuse. And so what that looks like is taking puzzle pieces and then pulling it back into the energetic system, if you will, and recalibrating the entirety of the person's psyche, right? Which is powerful stuff. And I've done it myself, and it literally feels like little holes are getting plugged, right? With this like perfect information. You're like, oh, right, that was always there. It was just missing. But when we call back our power, especially from traumatic experiences, then we start to really synthesize our health, ground and calm our mind, regulate our emotions. And from there, it makes more sense to take galactic information and all of this higher stuff. We want to be really stable down here in the structure, right? And then we start pulling that, and then we get into like airbender stuff, and we can do like really amazing things energetically. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love Airbender. Yeah.
Hopefully.